Welcome back to another episode of How Did They Grow? I created this podcast because I wanted you to learn how other coaches, freelancers, service providers, and course sellers are growing their business, landing 10 to 20 new clients every single month, paying them 50, 100, 200K months. See, if they've done it, you can too. And that's just the reality. And I want you to listen to these podcasts to understand what strategies are they using, what techniques are they exploring, because it's in these gems that you can apply it to your business and actually scale things up. When you're ready and you feel like you actually want to learn practical, proven methodologies, or even you want to hire a team that can build you a profitable personal brand, book in a chat with our team because we can guarantee you go viral and guarantee you get clients for your business.
And welcome to the podcast, guys. This is the How Did They Grow podcast. And today we have one of the top 100 golf coaches, and his name is Daniel Guest. Daniel, can you do us a favor and tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, Mike, first of all, man, thanks for having me on the podcast. Yeah, sure. I'm based right out of Philadelphia. I've spent my whole life in golf. I was sharing with Mike earlier that my original intentions after playing high school and collegiate golf was to turn pro. And then I realized I'm just not that good, man. I wish I was. So I took a brief stint in corporate America that lasted all of 30 years. And the last 10 years, I've been a full-time golf professional here at Imagine Golf. So it's been a good run, I should say.
Yeah, definitely. Tell us more about the company, Imagine Golf. How did you start, and is it are you the sole owner, or did you co-found it?
Yeah, I co-founded it with my wife because I can't do a business without her, of course. And now I can say I'm a women-owned business, so it worked out pretty well. But no, I'm the founder of the business. I started it officially like 14 years ago. I'm 59 years old now, Mike. I started 14 years ago with the original intent was to do something in the golf industry when I retired. But that was really it. It was more like a placeholder for me. And I was sharing with you earlier, as I got in my mid-50s, I wanted to do something that I was passionate about. I wasn't passionate about corporate America anymore. And candidly, they weren't passionate for me. You turn 50 and that ageism stuff starts to kick in, I think. And, it just seemed like a good time to cut it loose. And I went home to my wife one day and I said, now might be a good time. And I must have caught her at a good time because she said, yeah, let's do it. So I did. I resigned that same week and then started full time. I didn't take any time off, went right into it. I wish I could tell you it was smooth sailing all along. It wasn't. It's like anything else. You just don't hang your shingle out and people come running to your door. So, but we, I really just put my corporate training together, my marketing expertise, my sales expertise, my financial expertise, and just transferred that to the golf space, which is a space that really doesn't have a lot of those expertise, to be candid. And before you know it, people notice the difference. And today we have 5,000 students. I've done 38,000 lessons. We have a golf better guarantee that no one's ever taken us up on, which is simple. Like, you come in and take a lesson, no matter what skill level you're at. If you don't get better in that 1 hour lesson, you don't have to pay us. And I think that's a solid guarantee that alleviates, so it should be not any barriers, because it's still a financial barrier, but it eliminates a lot of barriers that people stigma they might have about golf lessons. What if it doesn't work? What if I waste my money? We kind of tried to remove all that in the beginning, and we just stuck with that, 10 years later.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a beautiful story, and it's been 10 years, you said. And yeah, man, if you were doing that, that's something I'll definitely take you up on, because I have no experience in golf. Honestly, I don't watch. I think the only person I know is Woods, man. That's all I know about golf is Woods.
Well, that's a good person to know, Mike. That's for sure, man. But no, you're not alone. I mean, only, in America, there was 22 million lessons last year, right? That sounds like a lot, but there are over 50 million, 60 million golfers in the country, right? So not everyone takes lessons. It's an easy way for someone to start fresh, right? And start the right way. I equate everything to how people learn stuff. We learn things around mechanics, and then we feel what those mechanics are supposed to be. If I was a piano instructor and Mike, you rolled up and I said to you, hey, Mike, show me what you know with the piano. You'd be like, I know nothing. That's why I'm here, right? So golf is no different. Once we start teaching you the mechanics and what's supposed to happen in the golf swing, before you know it, you can do it. Most people get it really quick.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a good coach and a good system and a good program in general definitely plays a role.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And that's a good segue. You know, the average student that does decide they're going to take lessons, they take about 4 or 5 of them over a span of about 2 years. Our average student takes 11 lessons in 1 year. So we know we're doing something right. We're almost 3x, you know, what the standard is, and in less the time frame. So we know we're doing something right. They enjoy it. It's fun to get better at anything, much less a complicated, you know, sport like golf. It is definitely one of the most humbling and complicated sports I've ever played in my life. Yeah. So, you know, so we know we're doing something right. And today we have 5 locations. We have the only kids only driving range that I know of in the whole country. It's only 120 yards. We don't allow any adults on it. And we put about 2,000 kids a summer through that driving range and through that program. So we're doing something right.
You said the kids are learning golf.
Yeah, it's almost like I joke it's or golf daycare for the kids in the summertime, right? Their parents need a place for them to go for 3 hours, but it's a golf related, you know, kids. I don't want to say it's a camp, but more like a clinic, you know. Some of them bring lunch, some of them don't. It's usually 3 hours in duration. And yeah, they have a lot of fun. There's something fun at every level about hitting the ball as far as you can and as hard as you can. So kids take to it really easy. And of course, they learn better than adults, quicker than adults, I should say, because most kids aren't embarrassed to do almost anything, right? They'll try anything once or twice. And and to your point, we roll them through a couple drills. We use a technique called gamification. We have them play a couple games, Mike, that kind of insulate, if you would, the fundamentals. They don't even know they're doing it. They're having a game, and before you know it, they're hitting the ball far and straight. And a lot of their parents are amazed because their parents can't even do it. And then their 7-year-old kids coming home, you know, hitting the ball farther and straighter than they are.
Man, definitely, man. And I think that's a good way to transition to the next question, which is like, you know, in other sports which, you know, require you to be more athletic, let's say basketball, which I'm a big basketball fan. You know, there's an age cap. There's an age cap, especially if you want to compete professionally. Would you say it's the same in golf?
No, it's definitely not. I'm 59, and I've played at a pretty high level in college in ice hockey, and I still play every Sunday with a bunch of old timers like me. But to your point, I can't compete with my son who's 24. You know, these guys skate circles around me, and you know, God forbid they would hit me. Right? We're not allowed to hit in our league, but if they did, if there was any type of contact, you know, I wouldn't be playing every Sunday, to your point. And basketball is no different. It's not. Basketball is a lot more physical than people think it is. You know, there's a lot of, you know, you get close to the hoop, you get in the paint, man, and before you know it, or an elbow flying your way or a hip flying your way, right? So, no, golf is one of those sports that truly does transcend your entire life. We have students, plenty of students that are 80 years old plus. The oldest I've ever given a lesson to is a gentleman that was 98 years old, had multiple replacement surgeries on hips, knees, you know, shoulders. So anybody can play this game. And by the way, we also have people that are blind. I'm an expert at teaching blind people how to play golf. We have all kinds of physical, you know, challenges, whether it be amputees or, you know, people that come back from the wars, different, you know, you name it. We've seen it over 10 years, man. So long-winded answer. No, man. Once you learn the fundamentals, you can play, you know, for the rest of your life.
Yeah, definitely, man. And, you know, when you brought up, you know, the thing about, you know, the older people and, you know, the disabled people, it really made me think about, like, you know, on this podcast, we speak to a lot of coaches and coaches in general in different aspects. And one common theme is that the coaching, once you become a coach, you're a coach for life, and coaching becomes the best thing that ever happened to you. Second to your wife, maybe.
Yeah. Well, look, I couldn't agree more than that. I mentioned about ice hockey. My son also played at pretty high level ice hockey. I had the pleasure of coaching him for probably 15 years until he got really good. But I coached ice hockey for 25 years, and I didn't get paid anything for that, right? And I had a pretty high-level job, and here I am coaching ice hockey, which took a lot of time and energy, as you probably know, right? Yeah. But to your point, I loved it. I loved every minute of it, with only a few exceptions, and most of the time, those exceptions were the parents, not the kids, right? So I agree with that. Once it's almost addicting, right? Once you get an understanding of how you can help people and how that impacts people, right? And how you really can. For me, with the kids, it was about imparting like life skills through competition and through sports for them. You could see them grow, right? Not just in hockey, but they just became, better people for it. In golf, it's no different. I don't work with as many youth as I do because we have a youth director now that does that. But there's something about teaching someone golf, a lifelong skill, that they really appreciate. Almost half of our business comes from referrals. And you know that, man. You don't give a referral for someone that you don't trust or something that you haven't enjoyed or got results from. You're not referring a restaurant where you had bad service, even if the food was great. You're not going to do it. So we take a lot of pride in that. And I don't see me stopping. I'm not the kind of guy that can just retire. I want to retire. I mean, I'm working 60 to 80 hours a week every week, but I can't do that. But I don't ever see me shutting it down 100%. I see me kind of, graduating it down just over time and, get to a point. And look, man, you know what they say, right? If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I'm a testimony to that, man. And so I feel very blessed to be able to even look at you in the face and say that.
Man, that's amazing, man. And, honestly, me sitting here as a young guy, speaking with all these people, it makes me feel so driven to become a coach in one way or the other. And you see this in so many, how do I say, in so many business owners. You see people who are like into sales, as you said, or into some kind of thing. They make all the money and they drop their business and they become a coach for that thing. They don't do the thing anymore, but they become a coach because that feeling of looking at someone who's at point blank zero, and you coming in, stepping in, having them trust you, and you holding them by the hand and changing their life in one aspect or the other, or in multiple aspects. It's a feeling that everybody says it's unmatched.
Yeah, look, I agree. And I wish I could tell you this was like a lifelong plan of mine. It really, life has a way of turning. I had really 3 different careers in my corporate America. I was in the telecom space for a long time, about 10 years. When that was really hot. I was in the mortgage space for another 10 years when that was really hot. And then I got recruited to go into the renewable energy space when that was really hot. So I was very blessed with different careers. I was always doing the same thing, whether it was sales and marketing or running an organization, if you would. But everything I had been taught through college and my companies that I work for always transferred with me. I always wanted to start my own business, right? But I was never passionate about any one thing. And when you're successful in a career, I wasn't going to just dump that success. I had a wife and 2 kids, and they're very expensive 2 kids, by the way. So I was making decent money, so I'm not going to just throw that away. I wasn't that kind of driven guy, right? I was driven to be successful, but it happened to be in corporate America. And I was fortunate enough, the timing was right, that as I wind things down in corporate America, I could have stayed there the rest of my life probably, and at least retired, pretty well. So it was a little risky, but really not, because I'm bringing all those life skills with me. I'm way smarter at 59 than I ever was at 19 or 25, right? And so I just felt like it was the right time. And, I joke with my wife every once in a while that, I should have started this right from the beginning. But the truth is, it probably wouldn't have worked. I was a different person back then. I didn't have any money when I started working at AT&T in 1984. My salary was $13,000. I probably spent $18,000 that year. I had no money when I first, was in corporate America. So, that doesn't work in your own business. You can only eat ramen noodles for so much, So like anything else, life has a way of pointing you in the right direction, and maybe it's not always, you don't always see that direction, but if you stick with it, and you got to love what you do, man. I couldn't open a business, my family was in the car business. I couldn't open a car business. I don't love it, so I would never do it, But and ice hockey, I love ice hockey, but what businesses can you open, ice hockey wise, right? I mean, and it's hard, But golf is a sport that's international and everybody can play it. So it just made sense. So here I am.
Yeah, definitely, man.
I hope you're enjoying this podcast. I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're learning so much practical wisdom, because that's what I really wanted from this podcast. Now, I just want to quickly say, if you're looking for a team that can actually help you explode and go viral with your personal brand with proven methodologies, I say this because I've been doing this for the past 5 years. We've got a team of 30 people who are ready to go ahead and explode your brand so you can get clients begging to work with you. Have a chat with one of our advisors. You can book in a chat using one of the links around this video, because that chat might just change your life.
And I want to touch back on something you said a while back, which is like referrals. The Simplex, we're a social media agency. We're a viral content agency. So this podcast, our audience, people who follow us on social media are coaches and creators who want to grow on social media. So touching back to what you said about referrals, the question I would ask you is, generally, how do you go about getting your clients? You said referrals, but do you do anything other than that? How's your content? Do you do what's it called, marketing, like Facebook ads and whatever? How do you go about that?
Yeah, so so our original strategy was what I call just going wide. We were just trying to get as many eyeballs on anything Imagine Golf oriented as much as possible. So I became a local writer for a couple publications that we have here. So just started to write about golf instruction and golf this and golf that. And before you know it, that got some traction. We do a few Facebook and Google ads if we're trying to drive certain things, if you would, or if we're taking a look at different metrics. We don't spend a lot of money on advertising. Social media has been kind to us. We have just under probably 500,000 followers on all the platforms combined. So what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to incentivize anything referral related, meaning I don't want Mike to have to feel like, I can get $50 off a lesson if he refers somebody. I want Mike to be I want him to be a promoter of our business because he feels so good about the results that he got. So everything that we focused on was that experience, right? How can we differentiate our experience from every other golf lesson out there? And so we spent money on figuring out what that was, and then we put that into practice, and overnight it just developed. So my advice to people would be, look, figure out what everyone else is doing and be that upscale, right? There's plenty of models out there that are low price, that are transactional in value and all that stuff. And I get that, but golf wasn't one of those, right? There's only about, like I mentioned to you earlier, man, there's only like 12% of all golfers, and not everyone golfs, that take lessons. So I don't want to be that low, that baseball, that low end value kind of, high touch. That makes no sense to us. We wanted to be that exclusive. We price our product fairly, and you get an incredible value out of it. And for us, that has differentiated us. So that would be my advice. Look at what the competition is doing, and just do a better job of just that. It's not really that hard.
Yeah, what I'm getting from you is like basically reverse engineer the process. Like try to create the perfect focus on delivery so much. You do it from the back, focus on delivery, what you get to the clients, and basically the work speaks for itself, basically. That's what you're saying?
Yeah. So, and to your point, look, I took lessons from all the top people in the country, man. I went to different clinics. I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on golf lessons that I didn't need per se, but I wanted to get a feel for the experience. And I wasn't surprised that most of the experiences were subpar. You roll up, they ask a couple questions and, hit a few golf balls and here, change your grip, do this, do that. And what I immediately noticed is that everyone had their own take, air quotes, on what the right process was going to be, right? Everyone's suggestions for my same swing was different. And that made no sense to me, right? You don't go to 4 different doctors and they go, hey man, you got 4 different things, right? You got a cold, you got this, you got that. No, you got one thing wrong with you typically, right? There aren't 20 ways to play the piano. There's one way to play the piano, right? I always look at gymnastics, right? When we look at gymnastics in the Olympics as an example, right? Everyone gets judged the same way. You're supposed to flip a certain way, turn a certain way, and so that wasn't like that in golf. And I thought to myself, man, that can't be right, right? We can't all be teaching or going after the game in a different way, So I did some research. I got some degrees going and got some education and really got an understanding of how the body works. and just put, some things together that said, look, we're not teaching a swing. We're going to make you more efficient in how you move through the confines of a golf swing. And imagine that the more efficient your body moves, the more you understand things, the more the mechanics, air quotes again, are better, the faster you learn and the farther and straighter the golf ball went. And so it just took off from there. People were like, wow, this is not so hard to learn, So, and then on top of that, to your point, you'll get a written lesson recap, you get a written plan, you get some drills. So you feel like you're not just there to take a lesson and then the next lesson, you're there for an experience and you get to take something home with you. I think that's what everyone's, in search of, right? We don't want to just, one and done, or we just don't want to, be taught something and expect to get it like that. You want some homework, you want some things that you can grind on your own with. So we supply all that. And it sounds pretty basic when I say it out loud, but not a lot of golf professionals are doing it, I promise you.
Yeah, and I like resonate with what you say, because it's like you're far from the rest in terms of you're far doing what they're not doing, but you also feel like you're far from the best as well, because it's nothing too crazy, in the sense that you're just doing what you're supposed to do, and which the rest of the people are not doing. Exactly. And
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and touching on that, because you, as I said, far from the rest, do you see yourself becoming, or do you think you are the face of golf coaching in America?
Yeah, I don't know that I'm the face of golf coaching in America, but I will tell you, I got designated as a top 100. I'm like 66 in the country as far as the number of lessons I give in a year. And I think that says a lot, right? I mean, people can spend their money anywhere, right? And they choose to come here at high amount. I'd love to be the face. I'd love to be the number one coach in the world for whatever reason. That's not on my radar, if you would. My radar is to get better at what we do. I really want to break into this virtual lesson. We do virtual lessons in 7 different continents right now. You log in just like we're on here. You log into a golf specific app where we have this golf software, and I do the same lesson in person, but I do it on this format, if you would, and we're having incredible success. So for me, imagine, right? Golf is very local, right? Most people won't travel more than 20 or 30 minutes to take a golf lesson. But now with virtual lessons, I could teach anywhere on any continent, anytime, 24/7. And that frees me up as well. So as I get closer to retirement, my wife and I could be on a trip, I could be with my kids, and I could do some lessons from the hotel room. You know what I mean? So to me, it's totally a win-win. It's a win for the client, and it's definitely a win for myself. So if anything, I see us doing way more virtual lessons than we do currently. And I think that'll definitely not only change the way we look at golf instruction, but definitely change the way Imagine Golf is positioned right now.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I like what you said. The virtual lessons thing. It's easier for you and easier for the client. And now this is something different, because how do I say? You're focusing on people who are not local, so you're gonna have to reach them through social media, and this brings us back to social media. What's your plan in terms of reach? Because you said you want to focus more on these virtual clients, right?
Yeah.
What's your plan? Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, so I interrupted you. My apologies. So look, our plan is to, well, first of all, we measure everything, right? So there's nothing gets by, not a dollar is spent without an ROI attached to it, right? So one of the things we're doing on the virtual space is we're definitely making a more, like, our social media presence. We really didn't put any strategy behind it. We're just throwing stuff up, and got lucky on a couple videos. And before you know it, we got a following and stuff like that. And when you have 5,000 customers, that's a good base, But now we have a regular cadence. We have an actual marketing plan that's going against a couple of these initiatives that we have. And so we're pushing out content that makes sense, that drives the virtual platform, if you would. And it's starting to work, right? So it just doesn't happen. You just can't say to yourself, hey, I want more virtual lessons, right? So I think we're spending more time on it. Candidly, I wasn't a big believer in it when it first came out. When COVID, virtual lessons really are a byproduct of COVID. it just didn't make sense to me. A virtual lesson, I always took lessons in person, but it doesn't matter what makes sense to me. Matters what matters to the customer, right? And if a customer doesn't have to drive 15, 20 minutes, or they want to take a lesson from a top 100 instructor, but they live, in Uruguay, or they live in Utah, or whatever it is, right? Now they can just pick up their phone, put it on, on a easel or, a tripod, and they're good to go. And
Like
a lot of
we're doing
people,
now.
yeah, like we're doing right now. So a lot of people like that. And the experience is just as good. The feedback we're getting, look, we have over 2,000 5-star reviews, and about a third of them are virtual lessons. So again, we know it's good.
Wow.
We just got to get more people to do it.
Yeah, definitely. So what I was like, the actual question, maybe I didn't phrase it well, was like,
Yeah,
what is the strategy? Because for our viewers who are coaches, as I said, what is that strategy for you to put yourself out there? Is it like doubling down on content? Is it doubling down on volume? Is it marketing, as you said? What is that strategy
yeah,
that you're using?
yeah. So I apologize. So if we really had no social media strategy at all, and we had no real cadence. So we just put stuff up whenever I had some free time, right? Now, not only is the marketing specific or tailored to a virtual platform or a virtual experience, but there's a regular cadence. And that's when you just say that out loud, that's all you really need to know. You have to have a regular cadence with social media, or you're going to get what you get. You will not get predictable results if you don't have a regular cadence. People appreciate that, and they come back to your media even more and your content more, knowing that your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, as an example, you post stuff. So our strategy is really as simple as that. One, we are going to have more virtual content, virtual lesson content going out. And two, it's on a regular cadence that we can measure, and it's a fluid plan. So whatever's working, then we're going to double down on that. So, but it's already working just with a regular cadence, believe it or not.
Definitely. I think that's what you said. I think is regular cadence, is that a golf terminology? Just to clarify.
No, it just means like that you're doing something on a timely fashion every day. All of our posts go out at 9 a.m. All of our posts are usually Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If there's anything in between there, then it's just a filler, if you would. But the cadence is just a regular commitment to a time frame.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Now let's stick to more social media. How would you say? Okay, you always started with social media, am I right? Like when you started, imagining, you started with social media.
Yeah, so we were always on it. I never really did anything with it until probably a year and a half ago, to be honest. So just kind of threw it up there. Keep in mind, there are more golf instructional videos than every other sport combined. So it was, if I wasn't doing it, I'd be that 1% that's not doing it. So we had to do it. But I didn't really see a lot of value in it, and I've never once have done anything social media wise in my personal life. So imagine that, right? I'm a 59-year-old male, and then I don't participate in social media, right, for myself, but for my business, then we have to do it. So it took a while to kind of get that going, if you would. But once we did, and once we started pushing it to our customers, where they could see that we were on social media, that we had a couple groups that we put content to, and they appreciated that, and they started to grow. We started to get a lot of shares, which is a good indication that your content is good. And then when that happens, then the algorithms start to pick you up more, and we notice we got a lot more followers. So we have one simple Facebook page that overnight grew to 52,000 followers. That's not easy to do.
That's not easy to do,
yeah. So and then our other channels, 176,000 followers, 225,000 followers. So that only happens if the content is pretty good and the algorithms are picking you up. And they only pick you up for a couple things, man. The content is consistent. The content is, from a time frame perspective, is not all over the place. So you're not putting up a 30-minute video and a 22nd minute video that people are liking it, people are sharing it. That's really what the algorithms look at. And from there, then you just got to continue doing what you're doing. And it will take off. I'm no expert by any means, but we're doing better than most.
Yeah, man, definitely. And it's funny because you say you didn't have any like history with social media, but the way you speak about the tactics and the algorithm, it sounds like you've been in all your life,
Well, so here's what I learned, right? So I worked for a Fortune 500 utility, and if you'd have asked me, A, do I know SEO, or B, do I know, social media, I would have looked you right in the face and said, absolutely. Because I did from a 10,000 foot view, but I had a bunch of people below me, Mike, that took care of all the nuts and bolts. I never did any of that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was a little bit embarrassed. SEO is a perfect example. I didn't really know how to get started in SEO. If Mike worked for me, I'd be like, Mike, give us those results, by the Thursday, make sure that, we're getting better at it, and make sure I understand where we're going with it. Right. So that doesn't mean that I knew how to do it. Right. Then you become an entrepreneur, and guess what? There's no more mics to give you your report. You are the report. So, exactly. I failed miserably, I'm sure, in the beginning, but it's not rocket science. You got to get registered with all the local directories. You got to be consistent in the naming. You got to be consistent in the address. So there's things that any entrepreneur can learn through trial and error, or they can, ask someone that's done it before. So I did mine primarily through trial and error before I had the half a brain to ask somebody. But it, it was actually kind of good getting to learn it all, if you would. But in the end, yeah, I'm certainly no expert. But yeah, I mean, I think I know more than most.
Yeah, and definitely, I think you guys are doing good, because 500K on, you said all platforms, that is not a small number. Yeah. Maybe you might be number 66 in physical, but online you might be up there in top 10, top 5. Easy.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and look, our goal is we want to get over 500K on every single platform that we're on, because what people forget is, look, my kids can't believe it. Technically I'm an influencer, right? I get checks from all the companies. I get a check from Meta. I get a check from TikTok. But it's not a sizable check, right? It's not a Kim Kardashian check. Yeah, it doesn't pay the bills, man. But it would if it was up around 500,000, if you would, on every single one of them. Yeah. But here's the difference, right, between like someone like us and a regular influencer. I want to get there through instruction. I want to get there through getting people better at golf. I don't want to get there through the Jake Pauls, and I'm not trashing Jake Paul, if you would, but those guys create just crazy content, and they're gazillionaires because of it. That's not me. I want to get there through actually helping people get better at golf, and I can do it. We can absolutely do it, because it takes a lot of time. Jake Paul's committed. He's committed a ton of time of his life, and that's all he did. I can't do that, right? So for me, getting to 500,000 on each platform would be through instruction and through helping people get better at golf. And we'll do it, whether or not we do it this year, or whether we do it next year. We're going to get there.
Definitely, man. It's all about consistency, and that goes in line with the way we see it at our agency. The way we see it is like volume, not just volume, but volume with quality, directed to the right people, because it's all a numbers game, really. Social media is a numbers game. The more people see your face, like think of it like this: someone posts twice a week, that's 8 posts in a month. Someone posting 3 times a day has already, in the first couple days, posted as much as the person has posted in a month. So the way it is, it's a numbers game. The amount of results, not just the results, but the amount of lessons you learn from those 8 pieces of content that you post in a month, that person has already learned those lessons in the first 2-3 days. So that's the way we see it at Simplex. And I think it's a really great approach, but I think the best approach is the one that works, definitely.
Yeah. So the only thing I would add into that is you can't just have a plan that says, hey, I'm going to post 3 times a day and the content can't be good, because just as much as you'll attract a follower, you'll lose 10. So, you can't bother people with annoying types of all of our content is around instruction. Definitely. It may be, the latest video I put up is 8 seconds in length. It's kind of wacky. It's on this swing training video or swing training product I saw at one of the golf conventions. There's no value in that other than it's humorous, and a lot of people poke fun of it. I could care less if they're poking fun of it, because the more eyeballs that are 8 million of anything is a lot, right? So it was a huge win for us. It took me 8 seconds, right, to record, and it took me another 30 seconds to throw it up on all the different platforms. So I don't have anything invested in that video whatsoever. But you can't just throw that up there all the time, because that's what you get known for, right? And nobody wants to see those humorous things, all the time. So you just got to be careful in what cadence is important, the plan is important, but the content is just as important. I would say to someone, look, you're better off posting 3 times a week with good content than you are 3 times a day with average or below average content. That's only my personal opinion.
Definitely, most definitely. The value is important as well,
Yeah.
Definitely. So let's touch back into golf.
Yeah.
Tell us more about this deal that you have. Can I call it a deal? The thing about
it's a deal. Yeah, it's a deal. It's a slogan. Yeah.
The 38,000 students and no refunds. Tell us a little bit about that. How did you come up with that, and how did they get here?
Yeah, so it's only 5,000. It's going to be 38,000 students, but I've given 38,000 lessons in my lifetime. So, okay. I came up with it because from what I was mentioning earlier. Look, I went to all these different golf pros and different golf schools across the country, and everyone had something different on what I was doing wrong, right? So if I wrote them all down, right, there would have been like 25 things that I'm doing wrong. And I know I wasn't doing 25 things wrong. By the way, you can't fix 25 things, right? So the idea was simple. Look, fix the biggest one first, right? If you fix the biggest one first, right, the number one thing that is causing you not to hit a golf ball straight and far, if I fix that, and let's say you did have 5 things wrong, it only makes sense that maybe 2 of the other 5 would follow suit, because now all of a sudden you're doing something better and right. Yeah. Those other 2 go away. So before you know it, everyone's getting better really quick. And then I thought to myself, well, heck, I can do this in my sleep. I can look at anyone's swing and I can say, look, the biggest thing you're doing is X. And let's start putting a drill protocol, if you would, against X. And immediately, Mike, you start getting better. Well, then I said, look, if I can do that, I might as well guarantee the lessons, because no one has a guarantee. So it just removed a bunch of barriers. It differentiated us immediately, and our sales went through the roof almost overnight. We literally doubled our customer base from one year to the next in just 1 year. And then every year after that, we increase our customer base by about not 50%, probably about 30-some% every year over year. So it's, it wasn't that hard, given the circumstance I was in, but it's definitely different. I don't know of any other golf instructor that guarantees you're going to get better or you don't pay. I don't know a single one, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think that's a really big thing about you and your brand and you at Imagine Golf. It's like being, I don't want to use the word unique, but being far from the rest, setting yourself apart. Because as I said, the first thing you said, the method of your coaching, you look at the most important things. Secondly, you said you have the notes and the itineraries that you let them take home. Thirdly, you have this guarantee thing. These are all things that you said that none of the other golf coaching, how do I call them, institutes or agencies do. And you have been able to pick these and say, I'm going to add this to my offer, not because they don't have it, but because they're actually good things that they don't have, and they were actually able to pay off.
Yeah, and by the way, none of this is rocket science, right? Anybody could do it. Exactly. Like we put it out there, and we've often thought about, opening up a piece of our business that helps other golf instructors and teach them how to do what we do. So that may be something we do down the road, right? But again, it's not that hard. And by the way, you wouldn't go to a restaurant, right, that didn't give you good service, that wanted you to come back every single time, right? And good food and good atmosphere and all that, right? So the concept is not foreign. It is foreign, though, in the space that I'm in, and I'm fortunate for that, right? These guys, and I always sound like I'm trashing other golf professionals. I'm really not. But the space itself, they worry about teaching them how to teach golf, and that is definitely important. But, man, you got to know people, and you got to know how to get people better at teaching, better at playing golf. And that's not just because you're the smartest teacher in the room. I'm sure there's plenty of teachers that are smarter than me from a golf perspective, but they can't apply it any better than I can. So that's the difference, right? And the other thing that people forget is, look, golf equipment gets better every year. The golf courses get a little bit easier every year, and there's more instruction ever. Yet people's scores haven't changed in about 25 years. So people aren't getting better at golf. So what other business would you continually take something that you weren't getting better at, but you keep going back for more? You keep going back. There's none. So it was pretty easy to look at golf and go, you know what, we can really disrupt this, and we can really start making a name for us pretty quickly. And that's exactly what we did. I'm just fortunate that I love the golf. So it worked out.
Yeah, definitely, man. And 10 years is a lot of time, but in the long run, it's not a lot of time, because in the next 10 years, you'll definitely be up in those rankings, those top 100.
Yeah, and it's only been 5 years full time. The first 5 I was doing part time.
Exactly.
So yeah, there's no doubt. And look, 5 locations. We have our marketing list is up over like 14,000 now of people that have responded and sent us their email so they can get on our newsletters and stuff like that. So yeah, and we're still a small company, but what's nice is our expenses are low, the revenues are high, and our retention is really good. People don't leave us once they come. So knock on wood, as long as the economy stays average at best, because we are disposable, expense, right? You got to have a disposable income to be able to take a golf lesson. But even through this last hiccup where we had almost record inflation, our numbers didn't dip at all. And I was a little bit nervous, to be honest, right? The restaurant industry got hurt a little bit. The luxury industries got hurt a little bit. Retail in general, we didn't miss a beat. So again, I think it's a testimony that we deliver on what we're going to say, what we say we're going to deliver on.
Yeah. The testimony to the service, definitely. Yeah, and I think we've covered a lot, and we're coming to the end. This is supposed to be 45 minutes. And let me just ask you one bit of a tricky question. We ask this all the time to everyone. So what is one thing you wished I asked you on this podcast?
One thing I wished you asked me. I wish you asked me what my golf handicap was.
Well, the problem is I don't know what that is.
Well, I knew you wouldn't, so that's why I said it. So
look, what is it? Look,
so I'm a 7 right now, right? And what that means is that if the golf course is a par 72, I'll likely score between 5 and 7 strokes higher than that, right? So I'm not the best golfer on the planet. And I think that, people have called me out on that. Well, why would I take lessons from someone that can't, shoot par? I've never hit a hole in one either. So, and my comeback to that is look, man, some of the best coaches have never even played the game. Bill Belichick, can't teach anyone how to tackle, but he's a pretty good coach, right? So I think come to our studios or take a virtual lesson from us or check us out on social media, and you'll immediately sense that something is different about what we do. And if you took a lesson from us, you get 100% would know that it's different. And you would start to play the game a little bit better, and you look through it through a different lens instead of this complexity lens. And instead of, from a PGA Tour perspective, they teach a golf swing in 10 different sections, if you would, or 10 different clarifications and steps, right? We break it down to 4. So 10 of anything. You mentioned basketball. There aren't 10 steps to shoot a free throw. I don't know anything about basketball. There aren't 10 steps. And if there were, it would make it harder instead of easy.
Yeah.
So we just simplify things. Yeah. We make it simple, and we make things that people can understand, and then we give them practical solutions. Every drill we give them is a biomechanically changed infused drill. So it's going to help Mike get better, whether Mike knows it or not. And all Mike has to do is do the drills. And as long as we were right on what the biggest challenge with Mike's swing is, you're going to get better. And we're right way more times than we're ever wrong. So, it's that different at Imagine Golf. And like I said, if anyone went to our social media or just, listen to some of the ththings that we talk about, we got a great podcast, the Imagine Golf podcast, where we talk nothing about golf or nothing but golf, if you would. You listen to a couple of those podcasts and you'll say, look, this guy's a little bit different. So different is good, right? And as long as you can back it up with a guarantee like we have, there's no reason not to come out and take a lesson.
Yeah, definitely, man. I think this has been an amazing talk, and we will just end with this, and I'll say, where can the people go to find and learn more about your work?
Yeah, so imaginegolf.com. We spell it a little bit differently. It's on my hat. It's IMAGEN, and imaginegolf.com. That's our handle is Imagine Golf on everything. And we have that Golf Better guarantee. So they can find us on our site. They can sign up for lessons, whether it's virtual lessons or in-person lessons. They can sign up there. And I have a new book coming out, Why Traditional Golf Instruction Just Doesn't Work. So that'll be out at the end of probably February. It's going to be a bestseller. It's my second book. The first one was average, but this one's going to be really good. The second of anything is usually good. And then they can find us on the Imagine Golf podcast or on all the platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio. We're the number 9 golf podcast in the country. So that's pretty good.
Wow. Yeah. So you heard it, guys. Imagine Golf. Imagine is IMAGEN imaginegolf.com. Find him on all platforms like that. Find his podcast. What's the name of the podcast again?
The Imagine Golf Podcast. Imagine that, right?
Exactly.
Make it easy for everybody. Yeah, we'll make it easy, man.
Imagine Golf Podcast. Wherever you listen to your podcast, you find it there. And yeah, that's it for this one, man. It's been good having you on, Daniel Guest.
Yeah, Mike, I really appreciate it, man. I enjoyed it. And let me know if you want to come on our podcast.
Sure, man. Maybe I'll ask more about these questions, these technical questions, because I need to learn more about golf.
No problem, man. All right, man. I enjoyed it. Have a good night.
I really hope you enjoyed this podcast. I want you to go away and execute everything there is that you've learned. Now, one thing I will say is if you're in a position where you're ready to actually take things to another level, you want structured, clear guidance, you want a team that can actually help accelerate you, book in a chat with our advisors. Why? We can blow up your personal brand to attract clients begging to work with you. All you got to do is book in a chat with our advisors and we can help make it happen. Sound fair enough?